from Mandalay, we took a small flight to Heho Airport, which is 35 kilometers away from Inle Lake.
We are in the middle of Inle Lake. Inle Lake is in between the Shan Mountains. It's around 880 meter high and 116 square meters. The best way to discover the lake is by renting a long-tail boat, which will cost you like around 15,000 kyats, and you are passing through many markets, many villages built on the water, and also a lot of floating gardens. But the most unique thing to see here is the fishermen. They use a very special technique in which they use one leg to row.
This unique technique was developed over many centuries by the local Inta people, enabling the fishermen to see through the reeds of the shallow lake waters while catching their dinners. Only men row that way, women row in the usual way. It is impressive to see how they easily balance on the tip of the boat trying to get fish into their netted cages.
And also, what is funny to see is how the captains of the boat are getting totally stoned by chewing betel nuts. I hope we are making it safe to our destination.
Inle Lake's fishermen have become an iconic sight with their cone-shaped nets and amazing paddling technique. There are plenty of these fishermen near the exit of the canal from Nyongshi. Here, they will just pose whenever they spot a boat with foreigners. However, this is just for show. They have become a bit of an attraction for tourists on a photo safari. Just a tip, head deeper into the lake and you will find those who are actually fishing, like those we just passed by. We are now passing by some floating gardens. The floating garden is a unique piece of work. The pieces of ground are being held together with bamboo floating on the lake. The area is huge and produces many kinds of vegetables year-round. The whole area southwest of the lake is actually covered with gardens. The floating villages may be on stilts, but the floating gardens are actually floating. Inle Lake is Myanmar's second largest lake in western Shan state. It's a very picturesque lake, famous for its floating villages and gardens and the unique way of life of the local Inta people, with their living communities based entirely on the water. Surprisingly shallow, its average depth is less than 2 meters. This has enabled men to settle on the lake, living in harmony with this fragile ecosystem and build their villages over the water. You see many villages built on the water, or floating villages. However, they call them floating villages, but they are built on stilts. They are not really floating. And it is impressive to see how these people live their lives. Along with fishing, traditional handicrafts are an important part of the local economy, and you will get to see silk weavers and silversmiths plying their trade on the lake. You can also visit shops like cigar or gold makers and factories where they create beautiful clothing. As with all of Myanmar, religion plays a massive part in local life, and numerous pagodas and monasteries can be found on the lake and its shores. There are also many restaurants dotted around where you can indulge in their delicious catches of the day. There are also many colorful floating markets worth visiting. Those are Giraffe Woman, or Giraffe Woman as they call them. You will find them selling items in some village shops, wearing the traditional rings which elongate their necks. Although nice and special to see as they seem to be fading out, their tribe is not in fact indigenous to this area. Their own home is in the hills southwest of Lake Kou, but not too far from Inle Lake. The town of Nonshue serves as the base for visitors to Inle Lake. This small and quiet town is easy to explore by foot or bike, and there are a number of affordable hotels in town. But there are also many hotels dotted all around the lake shores, mostly luxury water cottages. From here, you will want to set off early in the morning for your trip around the lake. There is a lot to see on Inle Lake and in the villages that surround it, so unless you stay in the area for 3 or more days, you will need to be selective about what you want to see and do. Boat drivers who also act as tour guides will advise you on many of the best sites of the lake and its shores. You can easily join a group boat tour, but I highly advise you to just go for a private boat tour, as this will give you much more flexibility over what you want to see and do. You can also hire a bicycle, allowing you to explore the beautiful scenery on the eastern side of the lake, including Mount Tauk and the Red Mountain State Vineyard. Yes, they have also wine tasting here. Unfortunately, we were quite sick the first day in Inle Lake, and we were not able to bike around the area as initially planned. So, pity, but for next time. We were left with only one day there to discover the area, so we needed to be selective and we decided to explore the lake itself.
There's a lot of floating villages, floating markets, floating gardens. It is a little bit touristy. It really became much more touristy like over the last 5 years, but it's still very worth to see it.
Inle is one of Myanmar's most popular destinations for travelers, so when you travel around the lake, part of what you see will inevitably be geared towards tourists. However, in many places, the authentic life on the lake shines through, and it is so large and the size sufficiently spread out that outside of the villages and markets, it's always possible to find quiet and touristic corners. Furthermore, steps are being taken to protect the area from man-made damage, including UNESCO designating Inle as a biosphere reserve. The best season to enjoy the lake is from October to March, the most ideal being November to February. We personally visited in December and had a very pleasant and sunny weather. If you enjoyed my video, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up and share it. Thank you very much for watching, and until very soon.